remember days you hold my hand, walk the streets, you the man. Did you know those days are gone? There was a time I was alone, oh held my soul. It was a hard time for me. Once upon a time, a little rhyme it blew my mind. It was a hard time for me.
Hey guys, it's the Oztech Warrior. Welcome back to my channel. We're about to dig into breakfast. I hope that little scene before looks awesome. I'm really getting behind these whole cinematic shot things. Today's video is going to be on one thing only, and that's going to be about depression and overcoming mental battles and those sort of things, and the techniques that you can use to help with that, or at least what I personally use through my own situations, and I'm hoping that that can help you guys out too. So without further ado, I'm going to dig into the food, but I'll see you in a minute.
Did you know those days are gone? There was a time I was alone, oh held my soul. It was a hard time for me, yeah. Once upon a time, a little rhyme, it blew my mind. It was a hard.
Okay guys, so quick fill-in for those that aren't in Melbourne, Victoria, although that would be few of you at this point. We're in our 4th lockdown, I'm pretty sure it is. So we're not allowed to go anywhere. Today's my day off, but I know this little outdoor bodyweight gym thing nearby, so I'm going to hit that up and do a quick workout. But before we get there, I just wanted to go over tip number 1 for getting a handle on depression and negative emotions and feelings. And this first step number 1, is probably the hardest, but also the easiest. It's recognizing your emotions. You need to be able to recognize, firstly, like, hey, I feel depressed, or hey, I feel angry or upset, or whatever that emotion is, that you feel it. The best part of this step is, at this point, I don't need you to do anything beyond that. You just need to recognize, hey, right now I feel pretty shit, and I feel shit. I don't need to think about what am I going to do next. I don't need to think about why I'm shit, what got me into this situation. Just, I feel shit. And that's it. Leave it there. And then I'll go over the next 2 steps throughout the rest of the day and what you do after that. Yeah, that's it for step number 1. Pretty straightforward. When we get to the park after the workout, I'll go over a bit longer in detail what step number 2 is, which is sort of the hardest part of this sort of journey to help out with conquering your own mind. So guys, that's what the equipment looks like. So I've got a few different things. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over through the equipment, see what I can come up with as like a little superset. So something where I'm just immediately jump between multiple exercises and then go back to like a rest and then back into the exercises again. So we'll see how we go, and then we might finish it up with, there's a basketball hoop in the background, and I do love to hoop, so might finish it off with a few shots afterwards. So I'll set you guys up on the camera somewhere, and let's get it. Okay guys, so finished on my workout, finished shooting around and everything. Hopefully those shots came out nice. Tip number 2 is probably the hardest tip, and it's harder to explain than it is to know, but this is about my 4th attempt and hopefully we get it right this time. So everything we witness in this world is either visual, auditory, or kinesthetic. So it's sight, auditory, or touch. And so our thoughts are in the same way. So when we're thinking of a scenario, so thinking of that time that that girl broke up with you and you know you had to go collect your stuff, chances are when you visualize that, the picture's pretty dark in your head. It's slow. You feel sort of cold, sort of thing. Or at least that's the scenario that for me, and I have no doubt that it's very similar for a bunch of other people. And so the idea is, anytime you have those sensations or those visions of what happened, is to alter it for the better. So for instance, if you're remembering a scenario, just pick any negative scenario, close your eyes, picture it ultra vividly. And now take that picture and brighten it up, add a lot of color to it, and think of just warmth, that feeling of warmth. And now relive that scenario the exact same way, but all bright and feeling warm as you walk through that scenario. And suddenly it's a lot easier to process, and it's not going to make you so negative or upset about it, because your body doesn't know how to process an image that's all bright and colorful and a feeling that's all nice and warm as anything other than a positive experience. And that'll help you go through and process those really negative thoughts that you have, or those memories that are really painful, in a better light. And it's not something that you can do on the first go super easily. It's taken a long time for me to get used to that. But I can guarantee you, anytime I think of a scenario that's really hard, like, I got to have this really tough conversation with someone, and I'm thinking about what that's going to look like, I brighten it up, I add a more resonant tone to my sound and the other person's sound in my imagination of what's going to happen. And all of a sudden, it doesn't feel so daunting. It feels like it's about to be a really constructive conversation. So hopefully that made some sense. If you have any questions, chuck them in the comments below. I'm more than happy to answer it, or put up any reference material you might have if you want some little exercises to try this out. But I guarantee that forcing your brain to process things differently by changing the pitch of the sound or the visuals, etc., is definitely going to change your mood. So that's tip number 2. Tip number 3 I'll go over shortly. We're about to head home. Got a couple of chores and stuff to run first, and then we'll go over tip number 3.
That the shinobi katana sword has the power to take life, but in the hands of a true Koga ninja, it has the power to restore a life spirit.
Okay guys, so just finished the end of the day with the movie, watched Ninja 2009. It's an old school classic for me. It's one of those movies you can just tune off, and it's just a bit of action. It's pretty cool to watch. I'd probably give it a 9 out of 10 if I were to rate it. So yeah, jump on it. Otherwise, tip number 3 to end the day is ask the right questions. So what I mean by that is our brains are the most powerful supercomputers on the planet. So when you ask a question, it gives an answer. So if you're asking it questions like, why aren't I good enough? Why couldn't I get this done? Or any of those sort of questions, it's going to give you an answer, and you're not going to like the answer, and it's going to make you feel worse. So to fix that, the thing you've got to do is change your questions. And it's difficult, it's not easy at first, but with practice you can get that down. So my main tips are changing things like why to how, and things like should to could. So instead of I should have done this, and then realizing that the answer is always, well, yes, you should have, and you start feeling negative about it, change it to could. So I could have got that assignment in on time, but I haven't, and I can learn from that. Or why aren't I good enough? To how did I fall short of this? And by changing that question, your brain will still give you an answer, but the answer will be a lot more constructive, and it'll also be a little nicer to yourself, and it'll stop that downward spiral of constant thoughts and answers sending you further into depression, into a more comfortable conversation with yourself being realistic and still honest with yourself, but not as depressive. So those are my tips. Those are the 3 things I learned first in my journey on self-development and understanding my thoughts and being able to control things a little better. I hope they've helped you out. If they have, let me know in the comments down below. There are going to be many more parts to this series coming out. This is more like a part 1 for me, but there's plenty more tips and things to come. I'm still learning, and I hope you guys are still learning. That's it for today. If you're stuck around till now, I thank you. Give us a like, subscribe, and I'm going to keep putting out more content like this. So if you want to see it, just click that little bell. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day. Hope you have a good day, and I'll see you in the next one.